I love this time of the evening. They call it the golden hour because everything glows, because the sun is about to set. It's really just hovering, not very high above the trees, and the quality of the light gives everything long shadows and deep contrasts. It's absolutely beautiful. We had to come out this time of night because during the day it was about 28, 29 again, which is way too hot for dogs. But it's now about 24, 25 and a bit more bearable. So, welcome to Colganology. Bindweed, and a very pretty little pink one too, snaking its way through the grass, strangling every other plant. Yes, no wonder it's called bindweed, is it? Look at that. Another form of bindweed, but a particularly magnificent one. Look at these big trumpets on these ones. Oh, that's the first lords and ladies, or cuckoo pine, or arum lily, whatever you want to call it, I've seen this year where the berries have gone red. Lords and ladies is that plant you might remember from earlier in the year that comes up in a tall spear-shaped leaf with a sort of stem that sticks up inside. I think it's called a calyx, which smells of rotting meat. It's Britain's flycatcher, basically. It's Britain's fly trap, because flies get attracted to the smell of rotting meat, fall down into the base of the plant where there are backwards facing hairs. It doesn't eat them though, it doesn't devour the insects because it doesn't need to. You know, plants that evolve to eat insects grow in poor soils. Here the soil's pretty good. So what happens is that it actually keeps the insects there long enough to cover them with pollen, then the hairs fall off and the insects are released. After the plant is pollinated, the plant dies back and the calyx then becomes this cluster of bright red berries. They are poisonous to humans, but animals love them, particularly the birds, and they are very pretty. Some hazelnuts. Now, I won't get to eat any of these because by the time they get even vaguely anywhere near being edible, the squirrels would have had them all. But it's still nice to actually have evidence that there were some hazelnuts on the trees. Golden hour day 2, a bit cloudier today, which makes the skies a little bit more interesting than just a big sun. But again, it's about 8:30 in the evening here, and it's very pleasantly cool compared to the 28, 29 degrees Celsius we've had during the day, which is far too hot to bring a dog out. So we're out in the fields enjoying ourselves again. Quite a lot of people over here, mind you, because they're all in the same situation as me. Too hot to take dogs out and too hot for them to go for a walk. So we're just enjoying this lovely, slightly cooler evening. Now, I've featured this plant a couple of times in recent videos, and I called it Gypsy Rose, which is the name I grew up calling it by. That's what my family called it. Its actual name, just for your information, is Scabious, which is a pretty horrible name for something so pretty, isn't it? But the reason I'm featuring it again is that the flowers are starting to go over now, and what gets left behind is the seed head, which is quite an extraordinary structure. It looks like a miniature planet. I mean, if you know who the Clangers are, which is a British animated puppet children's show all about aliens who live on a tiny moon, it looks a bit like the Clangers planet, doesn't it? Or the COVID virus. Yeah, well, there you go. That's Scabious for you. Pineapple weed, growing everywhere at the moment. Smells of pineapple, tastes faintly of pineapple, and if you chop it up and stick it in an infuser, it makes a very nice herbal tea. Especially if you just sweeten it ever so slightly with a bit of honey or maple syrup or something like that. Yeah, it's very, very nice, pineapple weed. It's so cool because it doesn't actually look much like a pineapple, but it does look like one of those ornamental pineapples that people used to have as gateposts. Here's a confession regarding pineapples. No, not that sort of confession. I honestly had never given it any thought before about how they grow until I went to the Far East for the first time. I was in Sri Lanka, formerly Ceylon, and I visited a pineapple farm. And it had never occurred to me before how they grow. But of course they grow out of the ground on a single stalk, one pineapple, and that's the one you harvest and eat. And then you get a secondary pineapple which doesn't taste very nice, but that's the one that seeds for the next plant. Out for an early morning stroll this morning. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. It's quite pleasant. It's already 16, 17 degrees. And it's going to go up to over 30 today. It's going to be the hottest day of the year so far. So I thought we'd get out now while it's cool. Berries on the Guelder rose, or viburnum. It's not actually a rose at all. It's more closely related to things like sycamore and maple, as you can probably tell from the leaves. They're starting to really get a beautiful rich red now. A little bit younger and they're quite brighter, as you can see up here, but they do go this beautiful, mature, deep glossy red. Great for the insects, great for the birds. Not so good for us because they can cause tummy upsets if you eat them raw, but you can cook them and put them in jams, just like rowan berries. Right, Mr. Noisy? Just checking in on the Himalayan honeysuckle, because if you look here, can you see that bright red berries there? Right, if we wait a few more weeks, they will go a dark chocolate brown, and they are delicious. They taste like burnt caramel. I said this is a Himalayan honeysuckle. I think it's escaped from someone's garden, and it's also known as a pheasant berry though. I think because pheasants like the berries. Because there are quite a few of them wild in the landscape. There's another little cluster of berries there. I said they're a bit too red at the moment, they'll be a bit bitter. But because in a little while, as I said, they'll go really dark chocolatey brown. They will be delicious. Now, here we got some yellow loose strife. That's what it's called, yellow loose strife. Another very pretty little plant. And this is a mallow of some kind. I'm not sure which. Musk mallow maybe? I'll have to go home and check in one of my identification books, but I'm pretty sure it's a mallow of some description. Very, very pretty clouds today. But they're clearing. I mean, that's the sky that's coming in. And like I said, it's going to get a lot hotter later on. My word, some days it just feels good to be alive. Another early morning walk. It's about 7:05, I suppose. And it's deliciously cool out here, although it's already 16, 17 degrees. And I'm just enjoying the sounds of nature. Well, and the sounds of a chuffing pug, obviously. But I'm just enjoying the sounds of nature, the smells, the colours. The sun coming up over the horizon is just starting to make everything glow a little bit. Oh man, even the sky's beautiful this morning. I mean, look at that. Look at those gorgeous clouds. Makes you feel glad to be alive. Now I'm filming this from a distance so that she can't be seen because she wouldn't want to be on film. But that lady you can see there is a local lady. It's called Jean, and every morning she comes out with a pram, you know, like a baby walker, full of 2-litre bottles of water, and she goes around the fields and she fills up all the water bowls for the dogs and for the wild animals. We need more people like Jean. You see, most humans are good people, most humans are kind people, but you never get to hear about all the good things that go on in the world, do you? Because, as someone once said to me, good news isn't good news. It doesn't sell papers, it doesn't create clickbait. But the fact is that, you know, for every one bad act that's going on in the world, there are a billion good acts going on. We just never get to hear about them. Oh, red kitelet just coming over the top of us here. That is a magnificent bird. And I will never stop being excited by them. I mean, it's our 3rd or 4th biggest bird of prey in the UK. Now around here they are as common as pigeons. Beautiful. I'm constantly amazed and sometimes just a little bit saddened by the number of people I see walking around just staring at their phones I know there's some irony that I'm talking into my phone here, but I'm talking into my phone with purpose, and I don't do it all the time. Some people just walk around these fields staring at their phone for the entire walk, and other people walk around with headphones on, listening to audiobooks and things like that. And I think that's fine. I mean, nothing wrong with any of those activities, and I do some of those things myself. But when you're in a wild environment like this, there's so much to see and there's so much to hear. And unless you're focused into it, unless you're tuned into it, you don't see what's going on around you, and you don't hear what's going on. I mean, I've been walking around these fields for nearly 20 years, and yet I am still finding new plants popping up that I've never seen before. And I'm learning about new plants because, you know, I'll happen to watch a TV show or watch a YouTube channel or read a book, and I'll suddenly think, well, I didn't know that about X, Y, Z. So it's just constantly topping up your knowledge. And of course, there's lots and lots of really good free stuff to eat as well, if you know what you're doing. But the big thing is just taking it in. Just absorbing yourself in nature. It's good for your soul. And there's quite a body of scientific evidence now that shows that this is good for us. It lowers our heart rate, and it increases the production of white blood cells and other cells that kill diseases. And there's a very good book I read a little while ago called The Nature Fix. And it's well worth reading, because what Florence does is she draws together all of the existing scientific data, the tested scientific data that currently exists to show that nature is good for us. And you won't be surprised to hear that it is. It really, really is. And, you know, anyone who thinks that, you know, oh, I don't know about that, just think about your medicine cabinet. Think about all those drugs that are in your medicine cabinet and all those things that you take to help you with your aches and your pains, and nearly all of those have been drawn from plants. They're nearly all from nature. So how much more is there out there we don't know about, and how much knowledge have we lost? How much knowledge have we lost by actually separating ourselves from the natural world? Something to think about. Ah, welcome to August. It's August the 1st, and I'm out even earlier this morning. It's about 20 to 7. Again, to make the most of the coolness before the heat of the day starts kicking in. I don't think it's going to be as warm today as it has been the previous 2 days, but it's still going to be warm, so it's nice to get out while it's like this. I love this little wooded walk because you go through here and you've got the holly and you've got the elder, and it's all sort of slightly secluded and shady and enclosed, and then you suddenly get round here and you think, oh, what's this? And boom, farm fields. This is a good spot in the late evening actually to see bats. I've filmed quite a few in previous episodes of this meandering rubbish. Yeah, nice view. Well, this is the field that was meant to have the sheep on it, and I think for the reasons of poor weather, you know, with all the mud and the water out, they couldn't get the fencing up, so it hasn't happened. But the field was planted with a nice rich grass for the sheep to eat, which of course there's no sheep to eat it, so they've now cut it and baled it. So you've got all these lovely hay bales here now. I thought I'd have a quick look at the wildlife pond, see how it's developing. It's been here now for about 5 months. A lot of the mud has dried up now, and it looks like they have been planting pond plants, because that's new. It's still very muddy, it's still very brown, but it is essentially a dew pond. It doesn't get fed by anything other than the runoff from the fields when it rains heavily. So yeah, but the dogs like it. I'm amazed you haven't been in yet. Oh, he's having a drink. And it's not very deep, as you can see, so it's reasonably safe as well. I think that's enough from me, isn't it? So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this week of exceptionally warm miscellaneous meanders, and I'll see you next time. Toodle-pip. If you've enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing. Or click on some of these links to look at some of the other videos on the channel. Or press the like button. Or leave a comment. It would be lovely to hear from you. Any combination of those 4 things would be wonderful. Thank you very much.